Welcome to Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. Nick Capozzi with Rob Langevin, a.k.a. Smokey. We are in Indianapolis, hauled up today from Nash Vegas. We had a good time in Nashville, buddy, but I'm happy to be here. Indianapolis Colts Grill. Interesting, actually, when we first came down, we were scouting some sports bars across the country in April. This was one of the first spots we found. It was amazing. Indianapolis is a cool little town. Is it your first time here?
No, I was here once before. I think I drove through here doing some stuff for a concert.
That's right. You used to travel around watching fish. Man, fish came to here through Indianapolis?
Yeah, this is one of the northernmost parts I went to. I think it was just outside of Indianapolis, but I'm going to consider Indianapolis close.
All right, we're just going to assume this is a better road trip that you're doing than when you were with fish. Okay, Aldon Smith, 9-game suspension by the league. Not good news for the San Francisco 49ers defense, obviously. Also had the Bowman injury. This is a defense that's been falling, but they're still consistently going as the number 2 defense in the draft. Where are you going to currently rank them?
I have them behind Seattle, Carolina, Cincinnati, the sleeper of the whole bunch, New England, who I have very highly rated, and then I have San Francisco.
So they're 5th, 6th, 7th on your list right now.
Yeah, I don't trust with the injuries. I think they lost 3 key guys now. They lost their best pass rusher. They're basically their best covered tight end guy in the middle, Navarro Bowman, and the center of their grinded out defense, Glenn Dorsey. They're big losses. It's going to be affected. The secondary is going to have to step up.
Plus, they got to go up against that Dallas offense the first week of the season. Not a great, actually, opening schedule for the 49ers. So, you know what, if you haven't drafted yet, you maybe want to definitely drop them down a couple notches. Stream the first couple weeks because you're always going to see what winds up happening. Okay, Eli Manning has had a terrible camp. In fact, Ruben Randall has said they're not gelling. What's it like at the family table when Eli says, hey, I got 2 rings, Peyton says 1? What does Cooper say? He's got nothing, just like you do. Okay, what's going to happen, though? Because Eli Manning seems like one of those guys who every year winds up on your team or is a bye-week replacement. I mean, in 2 QB leagues, where is this guy for you?
He's basically probably ranked 24th, 25th right now. There's guys that are probably below him that I'd actually want to trust more right now, like a Josh McCown. And I'm starting to believe the hype in the Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, what do you like about Teddy Bridgewater?
I just like that the weapons are there from in the offense. They have a great run game with Adrian Peterson. Cordero Patterson is coming into his own. They've got Greg Jennings on the outside. He's got the weapons there to develop into like a moderately game-managing quarterback, which is basically what he's showing in preseason by his 5-0 interception rate.
Another guy, too, that I might even want to have over Eli is Derek Carr, who now it looks like he might be the starter from week 1. You know what? I know it's easy to give the Raiders a hard time, but there's some skill position players there. I mean, if one of the running backs is going to be healthy at some point, there's some interesting wide receiver talent. I know people are like, oh, Rod Streeter. Andre Holmes is an interesting guy to watch. He's a guy I've gotten late in a few leagues this year. What do you think about Derek Carr?
I like him. I mean, he's probably had one of the strongest arms coming out of the draft, and now he's got the weapons that can run down the field and catch it. Andre Holmes is a burner. Denarius Moore showed yesterday that he has the ability to stretch the field. And he's still got Rod Streeter. He's probably the only one that's probably draftable in a 12-team format if you're looking for like a wide receiver 4 or 5. But for Derek Carr to be effective, they need the running backs to actually carry the ball and pound the line of scrimmage. They need like 10 to 12 carries each from MJD and Run DMC.
All right, talking about carries. Now, I know it's tough to look at the 4th game of the preseason and actually evaluate what's happening, but a lot of talk that Jeremy Hill is going to be taking a lot of the snaps away from Giovanni Bernard, which might not be a bad thing. Keep Bernard fresh, give him the opportunities. Excuse me. But can you tell I've been talking a lot? I'm starting to lose my voice on this trip. But the other day, Jeremy Hill had 26 touches for 160 total yards. He is still going 9th, 10th round. Gio is still going 2nd round. I know we've talked about this a lot. Real quick, is he going to cut into the playing time a lot or a little or medium? It's like, how do you like your steak?
Yeah. I think the where he's going to cut into Gio's stats the most is at the goal line. I just think he's going to probably vulture a couple goal line touchdowns here or there and probably get his total probably up to like 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns. He probably won't have much in the PPR because that's Gio's territory. But, if they both get 200 carries for the year, Gio gets probably about 60 catches. I mean, the value for Hill is still going to be there if he can average over 5 yards a carry. That's still 1,000 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Sammy Watkins still having the rib injury, was re-injured. A lot of hype in the beginning of the season when he had that crazy one-handed catch in the end zone. I've liked E.J. Manuel. I'm starting to think now that maybe I need to shift gears on. Well, obviously I need to shift gears, but I thought he was interesting as an upside play in dynasty leagues. But man, if he can't get the ball into Watkins' hands, Watkins has been the first rookie wide receiver off the board, and we've seen him go as high as the 6th round. I mean, what's his value going to be this year?
Yeah, it's all tied to EJ Manuel. He's just
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. The Buffalo beat writers are already questioning Buffalo's reach that they took him that high, and they're already questioning his development with the receivers, his heart for and passion for the game. It doesn't look good unless he starts playing like the way he was. He may go back to his baseball career.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Could you imagine? Okay, Blake Bortles, though, I think as we get closer to the season starting, what are the odds? Give me an actual statistical odd that Bortles is the game 1 starter for the Jags.
It's probably 0. I don't think they throw him out there only because I think if they say they're going to put him in there, they're basically calling themselves liars because they wanted to start the season with him on the bench and basically redshirt this whole year. They're going to put Chad Henne in there. He's a game manager. He's a veteran. Bortles, if he's playing by week 3, I'd probably be surprised.
Okay, interesting. Santonio Holmes, I don't know why you put him in the notes. You explain this, because Santonio Holmes should not be being discussed right now.
Well, when Mark Trestman, who's basically a passing guru, says Santonio Holmes is going to have a role or a niche in a passing offense, you kind of take notice. I'm not saying you're going to go out and be like, oh, Santonio Holmes is my pick in the 7th round. He's probably like a just watch guy right now. But they can't always throw the ball to Marshall. They can't throw the ball to Jeffrey. They can't throw the ball to Forte. I mean, he's just a guy to watch in that offense because Trestman likes to open it up. And, Holmes is a veteran. He likes to cry, but I think he could fit in. I think if he shuts his mouth and plays football, I think he'll have a nice role there.
Okay, real quick. So the NFL has now put in basically a 6-game minimum suspension for domestic issues, but they're also talking about raising the marijuana.
Yeah, they're talking
that.
Yeah, they went with the originally they had the World Doping Association
WADA
per nanogram rate, it was like 15, which is way lower than any other sport right now. They're going to adopt they're talking about adopting a new one that's going to push it up to like 150, which I believe is on par with the baseball and hockey
and the World Series of Marijuana in Amsterdam.
Yeah, and the World Series of Dice.
All right, guys, this is Razzball, Radio Fantasy Sports Network. We are going to go inside. We are going to discuss the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of interesting names here. Trent Richardson, Andrew Luck, Reggie Wayne. I'm going to bring up Dwayne Allen, even though he doesn't want me to. But we're going to go back and discuss all that right after this. Razzball, Radio Fantasy Sports Network. See you in a minute.
I was never one for traditional dating, which is why I like to meet guys on arrangementfinders.com. Arrangement Finders puts a twist on dating that works so well, they guarantee you'll find a girl. That's right, guarantee. Sounds too good to be true? Check out these girls on arrangementfinders.com who are looking to date. She's hot. She's hot. Okay, her, not so much. Anyway, it's free to join. Go to Arrangement Finders and meet girls like me who know what you really want.
Welcome back, Razzball Radio Fantasy Sports Network. Nick Capozzi here with Smokey, a.k.a. Rob Langevin. Although I guess it's Rob Langevin, a.k.a. Smokey. I mean, that's pretty much what it is, right?
Yeah, that should be the order, I think. I think the Smokey moniker is fading fast. Everybody knows me as Rob now, and then they're like, wait, who's this Smokey guy?
Absolutely, especially after we changed your Twitter handle. But Rob Langevin is too long of a Twitter handle, so we'll still call you Smokey. I mean, you're like OG in the show, man. We got to keep it as it is. All right, so we are still in Indianapolis, so we are going to talk about the Colts right now. We're going to break down by position, starting at quarterback, and obviously Andrew Luck, I think, you and I have been talking about this quite a bit. I think he's the one guy who has been up and down the most in these drafts. We've seen him go in the first round 3 times in these drafts. We've seen him go as late as the 9th or 10th round, which is kind of interesting. Before we talk about him from a fantasy perspective, why do you think that is?
I think it's more of like a who's buying his pudding kind of thing. There's people who are looking at him as the guy in the playoffs who threw 6 touchdowns, or the guy who was semi-inconsistent in the middle of last year. But he's got running quarterback with the ability to get in the end zone as running it, and he's got great weapons to throw it to now with a healthy Reggie Wayne.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're right. I think it's people who are either buying high, or I think the Vegas line on him was plus 4,500 yards. I think paid 20 to 1 or something. I don't know off the top of my head. But it's interesting because I don't think people think he can get to 4,500 yards, but I think he could in this offense this year. Talk to me about how you think he'll actually perform this year as a fantasy quarterback and where he winds up in the quarterback rankings at the end of the season.
I think 4,500 is a decent number for him. I'd probably put him at like 46 as like a top, but he's also
so we better fly to Vegas, make that bet.
Yeah, I'm going to go book it. We'll go to in Chicago. We'll make our arrangements. But his ability to also run the ball is actually going to help his fantasy value as well. You know, the weapons that he has, his overall fantasy impact is going to be affected more if Trent Richardson can actually do something.
Yep.
You know, if Trent Richardson can actually run the ball and not look like he doesn't know what he's doing, it'll give Luck enough time to find T.Y. Hilton and Kobe Fleener and Reggie Wayne and make them all fantasy assets in the later rounds, some of the guys. And Luck is, for me, I'd be comfortable taking him either right before Matthew Stafford or right after Matthew Stafford. That's usually the hallmark where I'm taking him. As soon as Matthew Stafford's off the board, my attention immediately is turning to Andrew Luck. If Matthew Stafford is still on the board and Andrew Luck's on the board and somebody reaches for somebody like a Kaepernick, which does happen, or a Russell Wilson because they believe in their ability as team managers, team quarterbacks. But Luck, for the value that he's going right now, is an ultimate steal at quarterback.
Yeah, and I think you're right. So where does he finish at the end of the season in the QB ranks? 6, 7?
I think I have him at 5. I don't have my list in front of me. I can't remember it. But I think I have him at 5. I think I have Rodgers, Breeze, Manning, and Stafford ahead of him.
Yeah, no, and I figured that's where it'll probably end up end of season. I think 5, 6, 7 is realistic. Obviously the wide receiver is going to be a big question here, so we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But yeah, Andrew Luck is an interesting guy. It's funny too you brought up Kaepernick because Kaepernick is the one quarterback that people seem to reach for versus his ADP. It doesn't always happen. There's drafts where he does go around 12, 14, but there's some where he's the second quarterback off the board, which is pretty interesting. All right, sticking with the Colts right now, let's go right into the wide receivers because it's going to get juicy when we start talking about Trent Richardson. So with the wide receivers, obviously they brought in Hakeem Nicks, who at the beginning of the preseason there was questions about whether or not he was picking up on the playbook and what level he was going to play at. T.Y. Hilton, who's interesting here, but actually T.Y. Hilton, his last 6-7 games last year wasn't very good, and then Reggie Wayne, who's old as dirt. No disrespect to Mr. Wayne, but he is old. How do you see this core shaping out this year?
Well, they need Hakeem Nicks to be that outside guy that he was with the Giants. He's basically a guy who's going to go up and get it down the sideline. By him doing that, it's going to take 2 guys away from the defense to cover him down the field. T.Y. Hilton is basically across the middle guy, and Reggie Wayne's going to be that across the middle, maybe a medium pattern guy. I think the big beneficiary of that is probably going to be Reggie Wayne because I think teams are going to sleep on him due to his health issues. I mean, it's still Reggie Wayne. I mean, if he puts up one or two more good seasons, he's basically a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no question. I'm not disagreeing with you, but you hit that point on the head. He's at an advanced stage. I mean, I think he's actually my age. So I don't know how advanced an age that is, but okay. I actually on this tour, I'm starting to feel like that's an advanced age. But the health obviously is a concern, and Nick's health is a concern. I mean, what happens? And we'll drill down on the other 2 main receivers in a second. But what happens if Reggie Wayne and Hakeem Nicks gets hurt? I mean, what kind of position does that put Andrew Luck in and this whole offense?
I think he's going to have to rely on Hilton returning to what we saw in the first 8 games of last year. And, I know we haven't touched on tight ends yet, but Kobe Fleener is going to be a huge integral part of this offense. I think he's just blossoming in and growing into the offense, and he hasn't really found his role yet. He's basically like an unkept Zach Ertz's ability right now.
See, I'm going to disagree with you. We'll talk about that when we get to tight ends. But going back to the receiving core, what happened? Okay, even if I don't want to get into the tight ends yet because I think that is going to be kind of interesting. But as for I'll put it this way: wide receiver wise, which receiver leads this team in yardage, and which wide receivers leads this team in catches this year?
I think it's both going to be T.Y. Hilton. I think T.Y. Hilton is probably the only person that's probably going to play all 16 games for them. I think Wayne is probably going to be dinged up and miss 1 or 2 with just random leg injuries. And Nicks is no spring chicken or fresh pup, whatever you want to say.
He's young. People forget. It's just he's been so decimated by injuries. But is he a possible bounce back guy? Is he a guy that can come out of nowhere and have an amazing season when no one expects it?
He is, but he's got to be able to go down the field and beat guys for the ball. That's his bread and butter. That's what he was with the Giants, and that's what he needs to do with the Colts. I mean, if he doesn't do that, if he can't get separation for the defensive back, I totally see him struggling and basically falling out of the offense because he's not going to be targeted as much. And that's why Hilton, I think, is going to jump in there and seize the opportunity.
Okay, it could play out that way. Which wide receiver leads his team in touchdowns, which is a different story?
I think it's going to be Reggie Wayne. I think he's going to be targeted more, and I think Luck has a trust factor him towards the goal line. He's a taller receiver who likes to score on the fades and, the back of the end zone throws. So I think he's going to benefit from that. I don't see him getting double digits, but I probably see him like maybe 8 or 9.
Okay, that's fair. Speaking of benefiting, an easy way to collect your league fees is with sportsvault.net. It's free. Let me repeat that again. It's free. Wait, one more time. Did you hear that? Let me say it one more time. It's free. Lock up your league fees for free, I said it 4 times, with sportsvault.net. That is your best bet if you want to get that done. Let someone else do the dirty work for you. You don't like. All right, listen, I've been with you for almost 2 weeks. You don't like doing dirty work.
I'm from New Jersey. We hire people to do the dirty work.
All right, we're at the Colts Grill here in Indianapolis. We are talking Indianapolis Colts. We're going to come back right after this and break down the running backs and tight ends here in Indianapolis. Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network.
I was never one for traditional dating, which is why I like to meet guys on arrangementfinders.com. Arrangement Finders puts a twist on dating that works so well, they guarantee you'll find a girl. That's right, guarantee. Sounds too good to be true? Check out these girls on arrangementfinders.com who are looking to date. She's hot. She's hot. Okay, her, not so much. Anyway, it's free to join. Go to Arrangement Finders and meet girls like me who know what you really want.
Welcome back, Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network. Nick Capozzi, Rob Langevin at the Indianapolis Colts Grill. Okay, we've already broken down the wide receivers and quarterbacks here. Let's get into the running back situation. And the guy who has so much hate piled up against him. And you know what? I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm saying of all the players that I get on most of my teams this year, one is Julio Jones, who I've got on every team. The other is Trent Richardson. I have him in probably 60 or 70% of leagues that I play in, and it's because I'm happy getting him in the 6th round, which is a little bit earlier than most people are. But look, this guy was a great runner in college. He was okay his first year in Cleveland, but look, he was in Cleveland. You can't hold Cleveland against him. He'd been dinged up a little bit. Got traded midseason. Remember, Marshawn Lynch was traded midseason from Buffalo. I watched a lot of Marshawn Lynch games, and you know what? He was a different runner when we went to Seattle because he had a much better line in front of him. Is there any chance that Trent Richardson could be, let's even say, a top 20 running back this year?
Top 20, I think he's right on the cusp of that. I probably have him at maybe 20 to 23, somewhere in there.
Trent Richardson or Ben Tate?
I'd take Ben Tate right now.
Okay. So what has to happen for Trent Richardson to actually have a good season this year?
I think he just has to gel with the offense. He has to trust in his quarterback, trust in his offensive line. He's got to basically run to the hole instead of trying to run around the hole. That was his major problem last year. He would basically try to do too much and get swallowed up by defenses. You know, the Colts don't have the greatest line, but they're middle of the pack. But I think he just needs to trust his offensive lineman and run to the game plan, not make up stuff as he goes.
Yeah, okay, and that's fair enough. Ahmad Bradshaw. Actually, you know what? Hey, guys, we're here at the Indianapolis Colts Grill. If you guys want to go right through the restaurant, you can shoot right past the camera. Just go ahead. No problem. Listen, we're at a great restaurant. People want to eat here. Why wouldn't you? Ahmad Bradshaw is an interesting guy because when he's healthy, he's a pretty good running back. But this guy, to me, looks just so torn apart and ground down by injuries. I just can't see him having a positive season. People are saying, I'm getting Bradshaw late. Ahmad Bradshaw. Bradshaw's going to be the guy. Unless he went to Germany and got some sort of, blood transfusion miracle, I just don't see a situation where Ahmad Bradshaw is going to be effective this year. Am I wrong?
I mean, if you're going to draft him with your last pick, it totally makes sense if you're not wasting anything on him. But he's completely made of glass right now. I mean, when he was at the Giants,
he's not even glass. He's like, plastic wrap.
He's like, how about saran wrap? How's that? But when he's with the Giants, he had multiple ankle surgeries. Every year it seemed like he was having another surgery. And then last year he missed a good chunk of the time. And, people are trying to buy into the fact that they don't believe in Trent Richardson, so maybe they're giving Ahmad Bradshaw too much credit because, if Trent Richardson is the guy, maybe Bradshaw has to be the guy. So I think they're just relying on him not getting injured just because the Trent Richardson hype is either for or against him.
Okay, let's talk about the tight ends right now. You were talking earlier about Kobe Fleener. And look, I like Fleener, but I got a feeling Fleener might be one of those guys who was great in college, had chemistry with Luck in college, doesn't produce at the pro level. I think the sleeper here is Dwayne Allen, who is not getting drafted. And before we even talk about tight ends, I'm going to tell you my sugar daddy of the day, brought to you by ArrangementFinders.com. The Indianapolis Colts that I think is going to grossly outperform his ADP is actually Dwayne Allen, because we talked earlier about the wide receivers. Who's going to get these touchdowns? I think Dwayne Allen's a big body, pretty good hands. I think he's underrated, flying under the radar. He's not getting drafted. Break down the tight ends for me.
I'm not in love with Dwayne Allen. I like Kobe Fleener's ability more than Dwayne Allen, and Dwayne Allen is basically getting overlooked or not even drafted in most formats. Basically, Kobe Fleener is the guy that people are taking as their second tight end if they want two tight ends on their team. I don't see fantastic numbers for Coby Fleener. I probably see him maybe outperforming like a Scott Chandler kind of from Buffalo. Sneaky 50.
Why you got to pick on Buffalo?
I like Buffalo. Buffalo was underrated. I like him for maybe 50 to 55 catches, maybe 700 yards, probably 5 to 6 touchdowns. But as a TN2, that's probably what you're looking for.
So you're not with me on the Allen train?
I don't see it.
Why?
I don't know. I'm a more of a believer in Fleener than I am in Allen right now. I think Fleener is basically going to give you what Zach Ertz did last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, I'm going to disagree with you. And actually, Allen's a guy, I don't have him on any of my teams, but he is a guy who's a watch list guy for me, absolutely. Okay, we're going to be playing every Sunday, DraftKings.com. Of course, if you want to play with us, go to DraftKings.com, enter promo code Razzball, get a first-time deposit match, and an entry to the Sunday games we're going to be playing off. We're also working on a Sunday morning show in the process right here. We're working from the road. All right, we got something special coming up. We're going to do that right after this here, Razzball Radio Fantasy Sports Network.
I was never one for traditional dating, which is why I like to meet guys on arrangementfinders.com. Arrangement Finders puts a twist on dating that works so well, they guarantee you'll find a girl. That's right, guarantee. Sounds too good to be true? Check out these girls on arrangementfinders.com who are looking to date. She's hot. She's hot. Okay, her, not so much. Anyway, it's free to join. Go to Arrangement Finders and meet girls like me who know what you really want.
Welcome back. Nick here with Joe from Sun King Brewery. Listen, we're in Indianapolis, and one thing we've been doing is sampling a lot of great local cuisine and local beers. And you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are the first local craft brewer in Indianapolis since forever.
Yeah, 1948 was the last production brewery in Indianapolis closed, and we opened in 2009, which is
what took so long.
I don't know, man. But we realized that there was a need for some good, fresh local beer in Indianapolis. So in 2009, we opened up, and we've been, trucking along ever since.
Beautiful. So how many beers do you guys have kind of in your portfolio? Is portfolio the right word?
Yeah, portfolio is a great word to describe our portfolio. We do 3 beers all the time. We do a cream ale, a Scottish ale, and a pale ale, and then everything else is a seasonal or specialty beer. That's kind of the focus that we wanted to have, is variety and seasonal type.
Now, can you get it outside of Indianapolis?
You can get it throughout most of the state of Indiana. We are not outside of Indiana yet. We hope to. That's not really on the radar right now. We want to make sure that we.
I can put some in the truck and bring it around the country for you.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have some here if you want some. So.
Perfect. By the way, guys, this is Razzball Radio Fantasy Sports Network. Smokey and I are trucking up to Chicago. I'm going to lose Smokey, but Sky is going to join me real quick. What do we got here, buddy?
Sunlight Cream Ale. That's our lightest, most accessible beer. It's
nice.
Yeah. I've also got Weemac Scottish Ale right here. Dark, malty, little sweet. Really, really great. Osiris Pale Ale, which is a West Coast style pale ale, very aggressively hopped, really good. And then I've got Fistful of Hops, which is our seasonal IPA. This is the summer seasonal. We change the hops every quarter on that guy.
You know what I'm drinking as soon as this is done taping, and we're pretty much done taping now. Razzball Radio Fantasy Sports Network. We're going to do the Indy draft here, and then we are shipping up to Chicago. You're going to have to eat some Italian beef wet. You're going to have to see it to understand it. Nick Capozzi, Joe, thanks for coming out today, buddy. We'll see you guys tomorrow in Chicago.